Welcome to Doc Media how-to training videos, looking at NexGen once again. And we're going to look at a little add-on piece of program for NexGen from RCS called the AFC, or as we open it up here, we'll see our audio format converter. It's a way to automatically bring files into NexGen without you having to manually do it, especially great for bulk files or large files that you'd otherwise have to sit there and wait for. But there's a little bit of setting up, a little bit of technical to get it right. Once you get it right, it's beautiful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit stop on this, and I'm going to teach you the basics of how it works. So I'll do that by, first of all, I'll go into promo. And then I'm going to click on settings here, and I'll see each one of these little folders has its own settings. So this one's called promo. I have an inbox. This is where it's looking for the file. So it's looking in that folder for promo import, and then it's got an outbox. I've had to check use outbox directory, and then once it's done, it spits it out into this folder, which is the outbox to autoload. I'll explain that just a little bit more. The format, file format for this particular station is 44.1 16-bit stereo. So I want to convert the file to that. If I have it at 48, everything will go haywire. So for this particular station, that's the format we're using. If you're using MPEG-2s or whatever it might be, then convert it to the right format. A template, we'll get to that in a second because we have to do those settings in another screen, but you set a template for it, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. When you're using autoload, I advise to have a system probably that's checking all these. You want to do the trimming of the silence, you want to normalize the file, you want to process in auto mode most of the time. So basically what that means is that it'll just sit in auto mode, and it'll keep looking. So every time you put a file there, it will automatically convert it and then import it in. If you want to manually check over things first, then you've got to uncheck that and not process in auto mode. You want to create a DAT file. If you do not create the DAT file, it will not load into NexGen automatically. So these are the settings that I've used. Let me go out of there and then go over to config. This is where you process a few things here. We want to build the vids. We want to revert the processes for the error files or the old files. So what that means is basically if something errors, it doesn't work, it turns it to an ERR file. You can click over here, revert, and it will then convert it back. Really all that does is it just changes the extension from a .wav or a .mp3 to .err, so it's not a normal file, so it doesn't appear up as an audio file. Now I want to revert after converting. These are the basic settings. Then I want to go to audio processing. I want to set my normalize level and my silence trim level. Typically it's set for -10. I've typically found that can often be a little bit quiet. Depends on how you've got your system set. So the DAT processing, I recommend if audio file name is NexGen format, then set the DAT to this number and cut. What that means is that I can say I want this file to load onto the number 701 and cut 1. And so I can actually name the file 70101, which is how the NexGen naming format works, and it will automatically process that and put it onto that NexGen number, so that if I just want to make sure it's on the right number that's being scheduled and it will automatically go on there, then I just put that number in the file name. So that's great for things where you might have 50 of the same thing to add, but they're all going to be different cuts on the same number. So you just literally call the file name 70101, 70102, 70103, 701... right through to 50, you get the picture, and it can automatically go on that number, and it can adjust the title for it later on. So if the DAT has an audio number and cut, change the file name to NexGen format. So if the data file has the details of the number and cut, then I want to put the file name into. So basically, it depends if it's. Those settings are basically saying whichever way it's done, just make sure you convert it to the NexGen format. Place file name in the audio title field is blank. So in the DAT file, if you don't have a title for it, then it takes the file name and adds that to the title. That's what it will call the file in NexGen. Have a look through these settings here. You don't have to use these date time rules, but I tend to like to. Otherwise, it's static if you just use the template, whereas this is dynamic. Whatever time it imports, you have then the modified end date time to however many days or hours or weeks after you put it in there. That's all down to what you want to do with it. DAT templates, let's have a look. So we've got song template or a spot template. Let's go to promo. That's the one we're working on. And basically, I've got all of that empty. And I've just got it checked to promo there. That's the only thing I've got there, which will make sure it adds it to promo. Now, if I put in there, this is promo, then every single file that imports through that promo data dat template will be called this is a promo, which of course I don't want to do. Sometimes I put the title in there if it's something like the Family Minute, and I've got hundreds of versions of that, and I just want them all to be called Family Minute. Then I put that in there, and every single one of them gets labeled that. But most of the time, I leave that blank. It's just to give it the category that we want it to go into. These other things I don't particularly use, as long as make sure your extensions are there, WAV, MP3, whatever they are. So that's the DAT template all sorted. That's my settings all sorted. I'm going to put that in Autoload, and now just to demonstrate my point, I'm going to find a promo of some kind. Let me see which one I want to go for. Pre-promote 19, pre-promote Thursday. Now I've just copied that. I'm going to go to promo import. Now, actually, what I'm going to do before I do that, I'm going to log into NexGen. Let me actually do something a little bit tricky here because it auto loads on a different machine. So this is the next step to it. So that's the converting and the processing. Now we want to actually make sure that we get it to import. And that has logged me in as somebody different. Let's log out and log back in. So I've got the access to this. So you might be blocked out with admin access depending on who sets that up. Okay, so I'm going to go over to utilities. I'm going to go to Autoload. And we'll see here that it's looking at the directory of the NexGen outbox to Autoload. It's set to look every 20 seconds, and then that's where it's going to try and import. It's looking for a data file. So let's start the process. We'll start the chain of events here. I'm going to go to the folder. I'm going to paste. And we'll watch this. See, it's found it there. It's processing it. It's converting it, it's creating a DAT file. We'll go over here. It says not loading right now. At some point soon, that will change to loading, that 19. Let's see, let's do the countdown. No longer, there we go, loading 19 pre-promote Thursday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to prod and in promo. Wait for it to appear. There it is. 19 pre-promote Thursday. So we've just added that into our system right now. And so that's as simple as it is. So when you have your auto load set up, that can just process things really quickly without you manually having to do it. Now I'll have to go in and I'll have to adjust segues and other settings that might be attached to that file. So review your IOC. I might want to change some of that stuff. I might want to do a basic edit to it, whatever it might be, but it's in the system really quickly. So especially if you've got bulk files, or in some cases pre-produced programs where the chunks are like 20 25 minutes, so you start it, you got to wait, and you got to wait, and you got to come back, and then it's just a pain in the backside. Whereas this will happen behind the scenes without you having to do much more. So hopefully that helps. That gives you a bit of insight to how AFC works, and it's a pretty handy little tool if you get used to it.